Hello, sweet parents. Welcome to the When Our Adult Children Walk Away podcast. My name is Dr. Janet Steinkamp, and during each episode of When Our Adult Children Walk Away, I will provide my professional and personal insights, information and opportunities for your self-reflection and growth, tips and tricks to make every day count, and encouragement to keep moving forward. I'm here to help you dig deep and get down to the root causes so that you can find your way out of the darkness to a positive and lasting relationship. Grab your notebook and a pen, settle into your favorite chair, and let's get to it. In this episode, we are going to look at how moms can rebuild trust. How can we start reestablishing an open line of communication? The things we're going to talk about today really apply to anyone, but in honor of Mother's Day and the really painful time this can be for moms who have a fractured or fracturing relationship with an adult child, we're really going to focus this on our mom. Some ideas. If you just listened to my last episode, you heard the 10 reasons adult children tell us why they accuse us of being the problem, why they funnel their anger toward us, and why they blame the whole mess on us, right? Moms are kind of in the crosshairs when our adult children estrange. So, and again, just a note, if you're not familiar, when I say estranged, I'm talking about the continuum of estrangement. If you're not familiar with that concept, please go listen to that episode. There's also a blog post on my website, whenourdadultchildrenwalkaway.com. It's really important that you understand in my work what the continuum of estrangement means, because they don't have to be gone. Estrangement is not necessarily a no contact order. No contact is the far end of the continuum, but it is not the beginning. That is not where estrangement starts. So in these conversations, when I refer to estrangement, I'm talking about the continuum. Okay, you heard those 10 reasons. So I'm going to frame this episode in those 10 reasons as well, but we're going to talk more about rebuilding trust. So in your circumstances, if you are being accused of being emotionally enmeshed, overbearing, too involved, not giving enough space and autonomy, then here's some things you might do. You might show that you recognize your adult child is independent and makes their own decisions, right? Instead of questioning when people need to make a decision, you simply endorse it. I'm looking at 2 different daycares. I'm thinking about, which one. This one just is too expensive. I need to find another one. Great. That makes I can understand why it's too expensive. It's tough. So it makes sense to me that you'd look for a different daycare. Instead of, are you sure? Do you think that's the best idea? It's a transition for the kids. Have you thought about this? And you might include, if you want me to do some legwork for you, I'd sure do that. I know you're busy during the day, or some way to support them in that decision. Ask instead, would you like my input, or would you prefer I just listen? I love that response. I love it. Another idea is to give space. If they need distance, don't force closeness, right? Just allow them to re-engage at their own terms. Now, you may not want this to go without some conversation, so there's not a misunderstanding. You might say, it sounds like you need some space for this. I really respect that. I'm just going to take some space, and when you're ready, let me know, and I'll wait to hear from you. So there's no confusion about, wow, they haven't talked to me for so long. Maybe they're angry at me. We don't want to leave that unsaid. We don't want to have that loose end hanging. Number 2, if you're being accused of favoritism with one of your other children, here are some ways to rebuild trust. So you can acknowledge your past behaviors. Don't deny it. Don't downplay it. If there was favoritism, claim it. If you found your sense of humor was more like one child, own it. It's okay to say it. It's true. Your child knows it's true. And you might also mention some things you really appreciated about them. I loved it when we were in the kitchen cooking. I just really appreciated that time. Now, maybe not right in that moment, but somewhere along the line, make sure you let them know there were things that were really special about the time you had with them. And then another idea is to bring it present tense. Make sure you highlight some things you really appreciate about them. If they share a meme with you on social media, or if they, I don't know, bring something from the grocery store that you needed picked up, acknowledge that. Take a minute to really acknowledge that. Now, it has to be authentic. You can't fake this. There's nothing worse than a faked compliment, right? I mean, everybody can see through those. So make sure it's genuine, but make sure you're paying attention to things that they do right and well and good for you. Make sure you're paying attention to the things that they do for you that you really appreciate about them when they're level-headed, whatever it is. And then ask what they need. Let them guide you on what they need to rebuild the relationship. What would help them feel safe again, build trust. Parents say to me often, how will my adult children know that I'm making these changes? I haven't talked to them in months. How will they know that I'm making these changes? They will begin to know in the little tiny things, in the ways you don't ask questions you used to, in ways you give them space and respect them differently than you did in the past. And we can talk about some of those things more specifically. I want to let you know there is a class coming up specific to these conversations for moms. And you just have to jump over to the website. You can register there. When a class fills up, I'll just add another section. So please register so we can dig into these things a little bit deeper. So we're going to move through these a little quicker because I know I get a little long-winded. So if you're being accused of the third reason adult children pull away, criticism and high expectations, then here are some things you can do to rebuild trust. You can begin by reframing your communication. So shift from criticism to encouragement. I have to make this change, and I'm trying to figure out what the best way to go is. Instead of, these decisions were always difficult for you. I know they were always difficult. You might follow up with, this is going to be a tough decision. If there's any way I can help, let me know. I know it's going to be tough. So tone, expression, language, reframe, celebrate their choices. I know that you're going to make the best decision that you can, and I will support you in the decision that you make. And then apologize, change your apologies so they do not include justification. And explanation sounds a lot like justification. That's why I really pound away on not including explanations in apologies, because they become justifications. So you might try saying something like, I know when I listen to you, I hear how painful some of these things were when I was raising you. I hear it. And I'm just really sorry. I want you to know how sorry I am for that. I want you to know how sorry I am that you were hurt by that what I did or said or let happen hurt you. I'm just really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I hear how hard that was on you. I hear how badly that hurt you. And I want you to know how sorry I am. So an example might be, I see how my high expectations hurt you. I can hear how badly my expectations were hurtful to you. And I truly admire who you are. I want to be more supportive in your choices, and I am determined to do that. I'm going to change these things moving forward. I'm so grateful that you brought this to my attention. I hear you. Or, I'm so glad you let me know this is how you were feeling. I'm sorry I didn't hear you earlier, and I want to make this change. I want to make sure I don't let this go on. Number 4, dismissal of childhood pain and experience. Here are some things you can do to rebuild trust. You listen without arguing. The minute you start an argument or an explanation, the communication is done. The benefit that communication was going to give you is gone. So talk, converse, and listen without arguing or defending. Statements like, that's not how it happened. I don't know why you think that's what happened. Those don't help. You can say things like, I really remember it so differently. I want to think about that. It's okay to remember things differently. It's not okay to tell someone that what they remembered is wrong. It just isn't going to be helpful to you. In fact, today they call that gaslighting. So be careful with that. Acknowledge their reality, accept that was their experience and it's valid to them. I recognize that that's really important for you to acknowledge and to tell me, and I've heard you. I understand, and I am so sorry. If it's something you were not responsible for, don't take responsibility for it, because they'll see through that. It's not authentic, it's not real, and they know that. You can say something like, I'm still trying to understand my role in this, and I want to learn more. That's a true statement. You need to learn more. I do know I'm responsible in this. I'm trying to sort out the ways that I could have done things differently. True statement. You can say that. And it gives you time. It lets them know you're working on it. Avoid defensiveness. Just like arguing, being defensive is not going to be helpful to you. You can feel it. You can feel defensive. You can know that at some point you're going to defend yourself against the accusation. The first step, though, is to figure out what in the accusation is real for you and what has that kernel of truth. Okay, number 5, failure to support during key life events. Well, we talked about this in the last episode. This is one of the easiest ones to be able to sort out because moms are busy, because we are managing these events. We are responsible for making sure the event comes off without a hitch. So in these situations, you express your regret. I'm so sorry I didn't slow down. I'm so sorry your emotions and how you were feeling were so much more important than whether we had a buffet or a seated dinner or a seated meal, whether we had Uncle John with us or not. You were the most important aspect of this whole event, and I am sorry I did not focus on you more. Show up now. I don't want that to happen going forward. I want to make sure that I'm slowing down and listening and considering what's going on for you. And then avoid empty promises. Do not make promises you cannot keep. If you're going to follow through on things, let them know that. Let them know you will make mistakes and you want to be held accountable in the future. I'm not going to be perfect at this. It's going to take me a minute to figure this out, and I'm determined to do it. Number 6, unhealthy conflict patterns and communication breakdown. Again, ways to build up trust. Change your communication style now. Pause before you react. Listen to respond, not to react. Make sure you're not involved in tit-for-tat kinds of conversations. Well, Mom, you said this. Well, that's because you said that. Well, I didn't say that. Aunt Susie said that. That kind of defensive response, that tit-for-tat, will end badly for you. I see it happen time after time after time. We have to break that cycle. And then make sure that you set new conversation boundaries, right? So in past arguments, if they became heated, if you disagreed, you want to make sure that there is a timeout, an agreement between you and your adult child that you will both take a timeout, have a signal. You know what? This feels like it's getting too heated for me. I really need to take a timeout so I can gather myself and come back to this later when I'm collected. Own it, acknowledge it, ask for it. They will appreciate that in the end. Now, number 7, overstepping boundaries in adulthood. This is today, people. This is what we're doing now. If we are overstepping boundaries that are defined and we know about, then we are causing more damage by the poundful. We can stop this. We can do this differently. So some ways to rebuild trust in those situations. Make sure you respect their space. Redefine the boundary. Make sure you know what it is. Clarify if you need to. And then ask before getting involved. Instead of offering unsolicited advice, ask if they want input. You want me to listen here, or is this something you want input on? Follow through. If they say they need space, honor it and don't push back. I would really recommend, strongly recommend, that you make sure they know that you're going to step back to respect their space and that you will be available when they need you. They will need to initiate it. No blame, no, well, you're going to have to come get me because I get that I overstepped. That kind of cynicism and sarcasm ends poorly. These communications need to be authentic and clean and genuine. Number 8, if you're being accused of being emotionally unavailable or cold in their childhood, It might be. Own it. You better believe. That's how I was raised too. My mom did the same thing, and I'm so sorry. I know how bad it hurt, and I can't believe I let that go into our relationship. I continued that behavior into our family, and I'm so sorry. Acknowledge the emotional gap. Make an effort now. Express with warmth and affection. Ask if you can give them a hug. I just want you to know I'm really proud of you, and I can't tell you how important it was to me that you let me be a part of this. I really love it, and I love you. Make sure they know how you're feeling. And even when the feelings are, like they say, really big feelings, man, this is just so frustrating to me. I am so frustrated. I cannot believe this is happening. I need to take a minute. You can say those things. You can acknowledge your feelings. They know you're feeling them. They know them sometimes before we do. So acknowledge it, own it, take a break. And then ask what their love language is. I have learned more about my love language by learning about their love language. I just wouldn't have, I'm not a touchy-feely person. It would not have occurred to me. I've learned that when my daughter engages with me, when she comes to me and tells me about her day, when she shares something funny about what the kids did, when she lets me in and opens that door, that's part of her love language. That's a gift. It's a present, and I acknowledge it. I love that story. I love hearing about your day. I'm so glad you're comfortable talking to me about these things. I love listening. And then you have to listen. You can ask clarifying questions. Well, what did Tony say about that? Or how did that work out for them? Or have you heard anything more about that? Circling back and asking questions demonstrates that you know it was important to them to tell you that story. The event was important to them. And it lets them know you listened. You heard it. Can't just be for the sake of gossip. It can't be just out of curiosity for no reason. For me, when I circle back, it's because I genuinely want to know more. I genuinely want to know if that worked out for her. That is her love language, opening up and sharing her experiences. Number 9, if you're being accused of toxic or abusive dynamics in the household, that's number 9. Here are some ways to rebuild the trust. So take full accountability. Acknowledge the harm without making excuses. Ugh, I know I hurt your feelings there. I'm so sorry. I am just really sorry. If it's a toxic or abusive dynamic in the context of what my generation thought was toxic or abusive, it takes a whole lot more apologizing, right? It takes a lot more accountability. If it was a codependent relationship, an abusive relationship that you were not able to protect your kids from during that time, you're going to have to acknowledge it. They know it happened. They know it happened. And they want you to acknowledge that you know it happened. And take responsibility for the things you can. I've heard people say, I couldn't get out. I had no way to pay the bills. I had nowhere to go. And for many people, that's a reality. It's okay to acknowledge that reality and then share with them the things that you did do to help minimize the negative impact on them and the things that you did to find your way out. You explored what options there were. You went to social services. You talked to your pastor. You talked to a friend. Whatever it was that you did to find your way through that, talk with them about it. If you're talking about an adult child making these accusations, they can handle it. They can handle the truth. They can't handle the pretense that it didn't happen, the lack of accountability, because those things mean they didn't matter enough. That translates for them into they didn't matter enough. And we know that's not true. You know that's not true. They were everything to you. And then as they process all of that, these are tough conversations, I would recommend that you follow up with some distance. Don't pressure them to move past it. Don't pressure them to forgive you. Don't pressure them on your timeline to absorb the truth of the situation as an adult. I don't mean necessarily that you give them physical distance unless they ask for it. I mean, acknowledge that it's difficult to absorb. It changes things. It may change how they feel about you. And you know they need space to absorb all of that and process it. And when they want to talk about it again, let them know you'd be open to it, that you'd welcome, another conversation. It also gives you an opportunity to see things through their eyes. How did that look to you? What did it feel like? Tell me what that meant to you. So you know what they experienced. So you have a better idea, and you're not making assumptions based on how it would have impacted you. We're talking about adults now. Number 10, the last thing. If you're being accused of the lack of accountability and the unwillingness to change, here are some things that may help you rebuild trust. So instead of saying, I just don't understand why you're so mad about this, you might instead ask a question like, can you help me understand? I don't understand what's happening here. Can we slow down and just take this one step at a time? Help me. Where does this start for you? You might act differently. You might demonstrate your accountability and willingness to change through action. Actions speak louder than words. So if there's a time you would usually jump in and share your opinion, get nosy, join a conversation that probably was a private conversation, stop doing it. Stop doing it. Start looking for those red flags and stop. So here's a hint about body language. If two people are having a conversation and they are facing each other, that is a closed conversation, it would be a good idea not to approach. If they're facing each other at an angle, if there's an opening at one end of their bodies, or if they're standing fairly far apart, that's an open conversation and you might join it. Join it quietly and tactfully. Don't barge in. Ask, can I join the conversation? And if the answer is no, even if they don't use the word, find a good excuse to go on. Oh, wait, I forgot. I need to go take care of this and get out of there. Let them determine whether you're invited to the conversation. And then be patient. Trust takes time. Trust takes time to rebuild. And I'm talking about a marathon. Again, estrangement is considered to be incrementally 6 to a year increments. So consider quiet time as a time for you to do some work, some time to do some reading, some time to learn something new. Take a knitting class, learn to cook a new dish, learn to do something that's interesting to your adult child. So when you come back together, you have a common ground that has nothing to do with this estrangement. It's neutral. You're invested in them. You demonstrate that. So again, I appreciate you listening and being a part of this conversation. Remember, consistency matters. Apologies need to be sincere, and you need to be willing to listen. Those are the 3 key elements here. Moms, happy Mother's Day. I know this can be and is most likely a painful time for you. You are not in this alone. We are all walking through this fire together. And I want you to consider registering for this class this spring so we can talk about these things on a more personal level. I also want to encourage you to jump over to the website, see what else is going on. Keep listening to the podcasts and let me know. Email me if you have questions. My email address is janet@jesteinkamp.com. I do respond to my emails. I respond to them personally. Sometimes it takes me a day or two, but I do respond. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts and your questions.